You're hiding from the infected when you hear it. Not moaning, not shuffling, but barking. Aggressive, coordinated barking from a pack of dogs that haven't eaten in weeks and just identified you as prey. These aren't zombies. These are former pets. No, the zombie apocalypse doesn't just affect humans. It creates an ecological nightmare where every animal becomes either a competitor or a threat. Welcome to Outbreak Files. Today we're breaking down what actually happens to animals during a zombie outbreak. Let's start with the ones that know where you live. Your pets, dogs. Your best friend wants to eat you. That golden retriever living in the house next door. Give it 3 weeks without food, and it's part of a 15-dog pack hunting in your neighborhood. And here's the nightmare detail. They understand human vulnerabilities better than wild animals because they lived with us. Former pets remember that humans are weak. We're slow. We're bad at fighting without weapons. We move predictably. We sleep deeply. We panic when surrounded. Dogs spent thousands of years learning our patterns. And post-collapse, they're using that knowledge to hunt us. Cities become particularly dangerous. Millions of abandoned pets in concentrated areas. They cluster in packs of dozens, sometimes hundreds. They're bolder than wild canines because they're not naturally afraid of humans. They enter buildings. They've figured out doors, push bars, handles, even some simple latches. They hunt in spaces where wild predators wouldn't operate. Parking garages, subway stations, apartment complexes. Here's how this plays out. You're scavenging a suburban neighborhood. Quiet, seems safe. Then you hear synchronized barking from 3 directions. The pack's been following you for 20 minutes. They've got you surrounded. They've done this before. You're not their first human. Survival tip. Avoid former suburban areas where pet ownership was high. Those safe neighborhoods full of family homes, they're now hunting grounds for massive feral dog packs. The nicer the neighborhood was, the worse the dog problem is now. Cats adapt differently. They're solitary hunters, so they don't pack like dogs, but they're also expert survivors who need less food and can hunt independently. Most cats survive the initial collapse better than dogs because they're already semi-wild. Very on brand for cats, honestly. The danger with cats isn't direct attack, it's disease. Cats hunt infected rodents. They scavenge infected corpses. They're vectors for whatever diseases are spreading through the zombie population. That friendly cat approaching your camp, it might be carrying toxoplasmosis, rabies, or novel infections from consuming infected tissue. And feral cat populations explode in urban areas. No more animal control, unlimited breeding, abundant prey from rats and birds. Within a year, you're seeing cat colonies in the thousands in major cities. They're not directly dangerous to humans, but they're competitors for small game and potential disease carriers you can't afford to ignore. The cat is doing fine, by the way. The apocalypse is basically their retirement plan. Here's where your survival plan falls apart. You were planning to find an abandoned farm, right? Live off the livestock? Yeah, about that. Cows, pigs, chickens, they're all domesticated to the point of helplessness. They can't survive without human care. When humans disappear, livestock populations collapse catastrophically. Cows starve in fenced pastures. They're bred to need human management for feeding, medical care, and breeding. Without intervention, most die within weeks. The few that escape fencing survive slightly longer, but they're easy prey for predators and have no wild survival instincts. They're basically beef-flavored targets. Pigs are different. They're intelligent and adaptable. Escaped domestic pigs go feral rapidly. Within 1 generation, they're growing hair, developing tusks, and reverting to wild boar behavior. Feral pigs become a serious threat. They're aggressive, they travel in groups, they're omnivores that will eat anything, including carrion and human remains. They're also mean as hell and perfectly willing to kill you. Chickens that escape become easy prey for everything. Foxes, hawks, feral dogs, cats. Some survive in areas with few predators, but their numbers drop by 90% or more. The chickens that do survive are the most alert, most capable flyers. Basically, they're re-evolving into wild birds. Good for them. Bad for your egg supply. The resource implication. That fantasy of finding a farm with livestock for food? The livestock is already dead, or escaped and scattered, or been eaten by predators. The post-collapse farm is an empty building with dead animals rotting in pens. You're not living off livestock. They're gone. Your survival plan just lost its protein source. Adjust accordingly. If any urban wildlife species thrives in human collapse, it's rats. They're already urban survivors. They breed rapidly. One pair can produce 15,000 descendants in a year under optimal conditions. They eat anything, and when humans disappear, they inherit our cities. Rat populations explode. No pest control. No humans disrupting their colonies. Unlimited food from stored goods and corpses. Within months, rat populations in cities increase by orders of magnitude. Everywhere you look, there are rats. In walls, in sewers, in abandoned buildings, in your storage areas eating your supplies. You can hear them at night. You can smell them. They're everywhere. But the real problem is what they carry. Rats are disease vectors for dozens of pathogens: plague, leptospirosis, hantavirus, typhus. In apocalypse conditions with no sanitation and no medical care, rat-borne diseases become major killers. The Black Death was spread by rats, and you're now living in conditions that make plague transmission easy. Rats also attract predators. Where rats thrive, so do snakes, feral cats, raptors. The entire urban ecosystem reorganizes around rat abundance, and you're living in that ecosystem, competing with rat predators and exposed to rat diseases. Congratulations, you survived zombies to die of medieval diseases. Very dignified. But at least wild animals stay in the wild, right? Wrong. Let's talk about what happens when predators lose their fear of humans. Wild predators like coyotes, wolves, bears, mountain lions. These animals learn to fear humans over generations. We're dangerous. We have weapons. We hunt predators aggressively. That fear kept them away from human settlements. Then humans mostly disappear. The predators that approach abandoned suburbs find no resistance. They find easy prey: feral dogs, escaped livestock, abundant small game. They start associating human areas with food, not danger. Within months, predators are operating in areas they avoided for decades. Coyotes hunting in city streets, bears raiding abandoned stores, mountain lions stalking suburban neighborhoods. They're losing their fear because they're not encountering armed humans anymore. They're encountering corpses and easy scavenging, and they're watching you. Predators are curious and intelligent. They observe humans to assess threat and opportunity. That wolf pack tracking you isn't being aggressive yet. They're determining if you're dangerous prey or easy prey. Your behavior in the next few minutes decides which category you fall into. Pro tip: if you run, you just answered their question. You're prey. Scavenger like vultures, crows, ravens, gulls. Any scavenging bird species explodes in population. Millions of corpses means unlimited food. Scavenger populations boom. These birds learn to follow survivor groups. They know where humans are. There's food. Either the humans have supplies, or they'll die and become food. Seeing large flocks of scavenger birds becomes an apocalypse warning sign. They mark where death is occurring. But scavengers also help you in one way. They clean up corpses. Millions of dead bodies create disease hazards. Scavenger birds consume that biomass before it becomes a larger health crisis. They're part of nature's cleanup crew, even if their presence marks tragedy. The psychological impact matters too. Constant circling vultures, ravens gathering in massive flocks, the sound of crows everywhere. It's a constant reminder of death. Some survivors report the birds as one of the most disturbing aspects of post-collapse life, not because they're dangerous, but because they're everywhere, and they only gather where death happens. If you see vultures circling, something's dying. Could be you. Insects are the thing that actually kills you. Nobody thinks about insects when planning apocalypse survival. That's a mistake. Insect populations explode when human pest control disappears, and insects kill more humans through disease than any predator. Mosquitoes become apocalypse-level threats. No more spraying. No more draining standing water. No more control measures. Mosquito populations boom, and mosquitoes carry malaria, dengue, West Nile, virus, Zika, diseases that were controlled through public health measures that no longer exist. You're sleeping outside or in buildings with broken windows. You're constantly exposed. One infected mosquito bite, and you're dealing with malaria without access to treatment. Malaria alone could kill millions of apocalypse survivors. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just millions of people dying from fever because mosquitoes are everywhere and chloroquine isn't. Flies spread disease at catastrophic rates. They breed in corpses and waste. They land on your food after landing on infected remains. They're mechanical vectors for dozens of pathogens: dysentery, cholera, typhoid, all spread efficiently by fly populations that explode when sanitation collapses. Ticks expand their range. No more yard treatments. No more pest control. Deer populations boom without hunting pressure, and deer carry ticks. Lyme disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Other tick-borne illnesses become common. You're walking through woods constantly for foraging and travel. You're getting covered in ticks. Eventually, you get sick. Lice and fleas spread through survivor populations. No regular bathing, close living conditions, shared clothing, and bedding. Everyone has lice within months. Fleas jump from rats to humans. These aren't just annoying. They carry typhus and plague. You're living in conditions identical to medieval Europe during Black Death outbreaks. You survived zombies to die from a mosquito bite. History books will be very kind to you. So urban areas are death traps. Predators are hunting you, and insects are spreading plague. But at least you can hunt for food, right? Let's discuss why that's also not working. Large herbivores, such as a deer, elk, moose, without natural predator populations sufficient to control them. In pre-collapse times, hunting kept populations managed. Post-collapse, there's no organized hunting. Herbivore populations explode. This seems like good news. Abundant game for food. Short-term, yes. Long-term, problems develop. Deer populations boom beyond sustainable levels. They overgraze. They strip vegetation. They cause ecological damage that cascades. Within a few years, you're seeing mass deer die-offs from starvation as they exceed their environment's carrying capacity. And booming deer populations mean booming tick populations. More disease. More Lyme disease specifically, which can be debilitating without treatment. You're hunting deer for food while getting covered in disease-carrying ticks. The food source comes with built-in health hazards. Moose are particularly dangerous. They're aggressive, territorial, and huge. They kill more people than bears in normal times. Post-collapse, moose populations expand into areas they previously avoided. Encountering a moose is life-threatening. They're faster than they look. They're not afraid of you, and they weigh 1,500 pounds. You can't fight a moose. You can barely outrun one. Nature's tanks, with attitude problems. Aquatic life and invasive species, like rivers, lakes, oceans, they all experience pollution collapse. Sewage isn't being treated. Industrial chemicals leak from abandoned facilities. Millions of corpses decompose near water sources. Water quality plummets. Fish populations crash in areas near human habitation. Pollution kills them. Algae blooms from nutrient overload create dead zones. That river you're thinking of fishing? It's toxic downstream from any city. The fish are dying or poisoned. Coastal areas see similar collapses. Sewage and industrial waste flowing into oceans unchecked. Coastal fish populations crash. Shellfish become toxic from pollution and algae blooms. You can't eat them without getting sick. Freshwater fishing remains viable in remote areas far from pollution sources. Mountain lakes, remote rivers. These maintain fish populations and water quality, but they're also remote, which means difficult access and competition with other survivors who had the same idea. Your fishing plan requires living nowhere near civilization. Good luck with that. Every ecosystem has invasive species being controlled through human management. Post-collapse, that control disappears. Invasives explode. Feral pigs spread exponentially. They're ecological disasters, destroying native plants, outcompeting native animals, eroding soil, and they're dangerous to humans. Wild boar can kill. They're aggressive when cornered. They travel in groups, and they're fearless. Kudzu and other invasive plants spread unchecked. They choke out native vegetation. They make areas impassable. That forest you're thinking of foraging in, give it 5 years, and it's a kudzu jungle that's difficult to navigate and supports fewer edible plants than before. Invasive insects expand without control measures. Fire ants spread. Killer bees expand territory. Asian hornets establish in new regions. These species were held back by human intervention. Without it, they spread to their maximum viable range, which means new dangers in areas that didn't have them before. What about zoos? They contained thousands of dangerous animals in cities worldwide. When humans disappear, some animals escape. Most die quickly. They're not adapted to local climates or ecosystems, but some survive. Big cats, lions, tigers, leopards escape and establish territories near abandoned zoos. They're apex predators with no fear of humans. They're hungry. They're in unfamiliar territory, learning to hunt new prey. And humans are easy prey compared to what they hunted in the wild. Most don't survive long. Wrong climate, wrong prey base. But in the months they do survive, they're extremely dangerous. A tiger loose in an urban area is a worst-case scenario. They're stealth hunters that humans can't detect until too late. Primates are intelligent escape artists. Some establish troops in areas near zoos. They're not typically dangerous to humans. They avoid us, but they're competitors for food, and they can carry diseases humans are susceptible to. Reptiles from zoos adapt better than you'd expect. Pythons, anacondas, large constrictors escape and survive in warm climates. Florida's python problem gets worse. Any warm region with escaped large snakes sees population establishment. They're ambush predators that kill by constriction. Encountering a 15-foot python while scavenging is a threat most survivors aren't prepared for. The broader pattern: ecosystems reorganize rapidly without human pressure. Some species boom, others crash. The ecological balance that existed pre-collapse is gone. Nature is adapting to human absence, and that adaptation creates unpredictable dangers. Food chains restructure. Predator-prey relationships change. Habitats shift. Within a decade, you're looking at ecosystems that barely resemble what existed before, and you're trying to survive in those ecosystems without understanding the new rules. The animals that thrive are the ones that exploit chaos. Rats, feral dogs, scavenger birds, insects. The animals you were counting on for food, livestock, game fish, either die off or become inaccessible. And the predators you thought you could avoid? They're expanding into areas they never occupied before, learning that humans are weak prey instead of dangerous threats. You're not adapting to the apocalypse. You're being selected against by an ecosystem that doesn't need you. Here's the truth about animals in the apocalypse. They adapt faster than you do. Dogs form hunting packs within weeks. Rats inherit cities within months. Predators lose their fear of humans within a year. Insects spread diseases that kill millions. And the livestock you were planning to live off? Already dead. You're not just fighting zombies or other survivors. You're fighting an entire ecosystem that's reorganizing around human absence. And most of those reorganizations make your survival harder, not easier. The animals that seemed harmless, pets, deer, birds, become threats. The animals you didn't think about, mosquitoes, ticks, flies, kill more people than predators. And the resources you were counting on, farm animals, fish populations, collapse or disappear within the first year. You can't prep for ecological collapse. You can't train for feral dog tactics or mosquito-borne diseases. You can't stockpile enough insect repellent to last years. You can only understand that the natural world becomes hostile in ways you didn't anticipate. And the cute animals you're thinking of befriending are probably assessing whether you're food. Nature doesn't care about your survival. It's just filling empty niches, and you're in the way. You just learned animals are the threat you ignored while planning for zombies. Here's your question. When you encounter that feral dog pack, do you try to scare them off, run immediately, or stand your ground? Drop your strategy below. Then subscribe to Outbreak Files and let us know in the comments what you would like to see in the next video.